Dimitri, what you doing?
Oh, hey, Beatrice. I've just been eating these hot cross buns that we got from Grandmama Olga. They're super tasty.
Oh yeah, she said she'll bring some over to our place today. I can't wait to taste them.
I'm sure you'll love them. By the way, what's the story behind these hot cross buns? We eat them around this time each year, but I don't get why they're so special.
It's something that people started to make and eat a long time ago to mark an important day called Good Friday. It's a date where we remember Jesus' death on the cross for us.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask Grandmama Olga to tell me that story. Good Friday's today, isn't it? Why don't we read it together?
Okie dokie. Let's see. Our story actually starts on a Thursday night. Jesus and his disciples had entered Jerusalem for the festival of the unleavened bread and were sharing a meal together that they called the Passover.
So they were having a party?
Something like that, except it wasn't a big celebration. Jesus seemed to have a lot on his mind. When they entered the room, instead of asking the servants to wash their feet like they usually do, Jesus himself stooped down to wash his disciples' feet.
Ew, why would he do that?
He wanted to show them that they ought to love each other and serve one another, just like he did. Instead of just talking about love, Jesus wanted to show it to his disciples.
Well, that must have made things awkward.
Well, yeah, that must have reminded them how Jesus said he had come from God to serve others and to finally give up his life for them. What's more, during dinner, Jesus went on to say,
Truly I tell you, one of you here will betray me. What does that mean?
it means one of his disciples was going to turn him over to the people who wanted to arrest him.
Jeez, talk about an awkward dinner conversation. This is just like that one time.
It didn't stop there. Jesus then gave thanks, broke bread, and shared it with his disciples, and he shared it around the wine as well, saying,
Take it. This is my body and the blood of the covenant. I will not drink of this again until I drink it with you in the kingdom of God. Hey, that's what we often do at church. We eat and drink together to remember Jesus.
Exactly. It was a symbol of what was about to happen soon. After dinner, Jesus brought his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane so he could pray. He asked them to keep watch while he himself went up to find a place where he could pray by himself.
My Father, everything is possible with you. Take this cup from me, yet not my will, but your will be done.
Jesus was filled with sorrow knowing what was about to happen, but even then, he knew that God's plan was the best. He showed absolute trust in the Father. He went back to his disciples, and at this point, Judas, one of his disciples, had brought soldiers along to arrest him. They took him away, and all the other disciples ran away, not knowing what to do.
Oh my.
Friday was a terrible day. It started early in the morning when Jesus had to be brought to trial because people were accusing him of all sorts of things that he hadn't done.
He said he would destroy the temple. He disrespected God's name. He broke the law. He stole my chicken.
Dimitri!
Sorry.
Throughout the whole thing, Jesus barely said anything. He kept silent, knowing that this was all part of God's grand plan. The Roman governor Pilate listened to what the crowd wanted and sentenced him to be crucified. That means he was going to die hanging from a tree in the shape of a cross.
But he was innocent, right? Why didn't God save him?
Just hold on. It all makes sense when I finish the story. The soldiers mocked and beat Jesus and led him to a place called Golgotha. That was where he was going to die on a cross. Lots of people came to watch. Some of the crowds were mocking him, saying how he couldn't save himself even though he talked about saving everybody.
How rude. Is this the moment when God shows up to save him?
No, Dimitri, it was God's plan all along for him to die on the cross. He had to give up his life so that everyone else could be saved. Jesus hung on the cross until his last breath, and then he gave up his spirit to God. At that moment, the sky went dark, the earth was shaking, and in the temple, this cloth that separated people from God's presence, it was torn in two. It was like all of creation was mourning the loss of God's own Son. Even the Roman soldier standing next to the cross cried out,
Surely this man was the Son of God.
After that, they took his body down from the cross and put him in a tomb and rolled a large stone over the entrance.
Wait, is that the end of the story?
Well, the story's not quite over yet, but it's so important to stop here and think about the story. Jesus loved everyone so much that he was willing to give up his own life on the cross, even though he didn't deserve it.
But why would he do that?
You see, every time we do something bad, it takes us one step further away from God. We can't get closer to God unless someone pays the price for all the bad things that we do in our lives. God knew that he would never pay the price by ourselves, so he made a plan so that his own Son Jesus would pay it all for us.
Let me get this straight. So God gave his own Son to die for all of us, so we can go back to having a good relationship with God.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. This is the greatest proof of God's love for us.
That's awesome. I didn't know there was such a big story behind these hot cross buns. You know what? I'm going to tell my friends that story.
Oh, good idea. So will I. But Jesus' story didn't finish there. We'll read the next part on Sunday.
Okay, see you then. Bye, Beatrice.
Bye, Dimitri.
Hey, Steeple kids. Hey, families. Wow, what an amazing story. You know, just like Dimitri, I love eating these hot cross buns each year. They're just so tasty. But just as Dimitri discovered today, there is such an important story behind these hot cross buns. Well, we have been learning about how Jesus spends his time on earth loving and helping those around him and teaching them about the kingdom of God. And Jesus' final big mission on earth was to go onto the cross and give up his life for all of us. Now here's what Jesus says about himself in the Bible. Jesus says that the Son of Man, that's him talking about himself, the Son of Man came to the earth to look for those who are lost and save them. Let me read that again. The Son of Man came to the earth to look for those who are lost and save them. Have you ever been lost before? Now, I remember when I was a kid, I went to the shops with mum and dad one time. And when I was there, I saw this really cool toy in the distance. So I ran away to go check it out. When I turned around, mum and dad weren't there anymore. I remember feeling so lost because I didn't know where mum and dad were, I didn't know where I was, and I didn't know how to get home. Now, thankfully, mum and dad were just around the corner. They did find me and told me not to go run off by myself again. Well, the Bible tells us that we are all lost because we have lost sight of God, who is our Father in heaven. God has prepared a place for us. God has prepared a kingdom for all of us, but we can't get there by ourselves because of all the things that we have done. And that is why Jesus had to go onto the cross and give up his life so that he can take away everything that stands in the way for us finding our way back to God. And that right there is the story of Good Friday. God sent his own Son Jesus on a mission to go to the cross for all of us so that we can find our way back to have a good relationship with God again. And you know what? Just like how we love sharing this hot cross buns with our friends, that is a story worth sharing.